Welcome everyone and welcome to today's video. This is our first look in VR at one of the two new cars added to the iRacing Season 4 build for 2020. The Chevrolet C8.R GTE car. This is a mid-engined V8 500 horsepower beast of a car. Looks absolutely amazing. I think it's one of the best looking GTE cars up there, probably only second to the Porsche RSR, because I just love the look of that car and everything about it, to be honest. But this is a real good car to drive. Bit of a spoiler alert for you. It is, iRacing have really done well with these two new cars that they've added. I'm really impressed with them. But this first look, what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the cockpit while we're in the pit lane. Just have a look at the actual aesthetics of the car, because this is actually the most recent car and up-to-date car on iRacing today. So what I mean by that is that this car, no other car on iRacing has been released in the real world more recently than this car. This car was only added to IMSA last year, and the LMP2 car, which has just been added, has actually been around for about 3-4 years now, I believe. I think it was 2017 that came officially into production and use in the WEC and IMSA. So this is very rare. This is a rarity for iRacing, because normally, as I've discussed in previous videos, we don't get up-to-date cars, and I do understand why that is, because a lot of manufacturers that are still currently racing in series don't want they want every advantage that they can, and they don't want to give access to a company like iRacing free will to scan their whole car from top to bottom while they are still competing in live championships. Hence why we would probably never get a Formula One, current Formula One car on iRacing, because of how secretive they are about their product at the end of the day, because every millisecond counts and there's a lot of money at stake in real world racing. So to be honest, I did not expect this to come in. This was a real shock to me when this was announced, which anyone who's seen my previous video about the new when they made this announcement will know how shocked I was, because really didn't expect a new GT car, let alone a GTE car anytime soon. I thought maybe next year we'll be lucky to get one, because this is our first GTE car in I think over 2 years now. There was definitely the BMW M8 that was the most recent car added to the GTE class. And yeah, that was some time ago now. Definitely over a year and a half, that's for sure. Maybe even over 2. So yeah, this has been a welcome sight and addition. And yeah, as I said, little spoiler alert, I'm impressed. It's a good car, and I think a lot of people are going to like it. And I think it's going to bring a lot of people back to the GTE series, which has kind of dropped off, which for some reasons, which we discuss in the video ahead. But yeah, we're going to jump into the cockpit now, have a look around, see how it looks. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button, guys. Feel free to join my Discord, which is in a link in the description below. Remember to turn those notifications on. And yeah, let's jump into it, shall we? So here we are, guys. We are in the cockpit of the Corvette C8R, the new GTE car added to iRacing. The second of 2 new cars, LMP2 being the first of them. And it's been a long time since we've had a GT car, hasn't it? And you can definitely tell that this is a brand new car. It's only been added in 2019 to the IMSA series, so still relatively new. And wow, I mean, you can definitely tell it's new. Just the dashboard itself, it's a little bit further away from you compared to some of the other cars. But the steering wheel, I like the buttons here, the colours. I'm a bit of a fan. I do like some colour. But Black and white is okay every now and then, but it gets a bit boring sometimes. A nice bit of colour here is nice, especially on the steering wheel. Not sure how I feel about the shape of the steering wheel. It's necessarily to my liking. I can overlook it though, but it's not something that I personally would buy a rim in that shape. But yeah, really nice here. You can see another nice little added touch that iRacing have added. We have the switches here, which are traction control, settings, your mix, your fuel mix, and your engine map. Now, these do change if you change them within the race and before, so nice little touches there, which iRacing seem to be picking up on, which just adds that extra level of immersion. So I really like it, really like that they're doing that now, and they're not just concentrating on the big items. Now, what you'll be glad to see is compared to the LMP2, this steering wheel is directly in front of us. No off-center steering wheel, directly in front, so happy days. Now, before we look at that big display in front of us, we're going to turn this steering wheel like so, and we're going to look to the right in the center of the cockpit and have a look at that button box. Once again, lots of colors there. Someone who designed this didn't like black and white, did he? He wanted everything to stand out, which I actually quite like. I do quite like this. Definitely didn't take inspiration from Elgato or Elgato, that's for sure. Quite an array of buttons there and switches. And right above it, we have a nice big rear view camera screen. I absolutely love that. It's my one kind of negative about the Ferrari GTE is that the rear view camera is just too small. And it's just, like I said, I don't like to use a virtual mirror, so I like the kind of bit more of the raw feel. And having a big camera like that is a massive bonus. Now, let's have a look at this display in front of us, shall we? And the dashboard. Now, it's a little bit further away from us, just like it is in the Ferrari, unlike the Porsche and the BMW, where it's a little bit more up in your face. But once again, really like the fact of it. It's nice and big here. You don't have any issues reading the information on this board, apart from maybe the two symbols in the bottom right, and it's a bit difficult to distinguish the brake bias there in the grey under the orange symbols. But you can see as we go in, we have tyre pressures. Underneath that, even though it's not actually annotated, it is your tyre temps, which I really like, just like the LMP2. There's no need to look up at your black box to check tyre temperatures. Nice and accurate measurement on your dashboard. Just only need to glance down, don't you? And everything else is quite distinguishable. The lap times, whether if you're up or down, or your intervals, your revs. Really like it, really do like it. And it looks like that on the left hand side, as you can see, brake bias front there. There must be that big blue button must change the brake bias or something in that regards. I'm not entirely sure, but it's definitely pointing, the arrow's pointing towards the display. So even though it's pointing directly at the tyre pressures, so not entirely sure if this display changes in real life. I haven't seen a way to change this display unlike the LMP2 car. So this is all we've got, but really like it and really like the information that is displayed there. Now, visibility, how is it? Now, if we look to our left, first and foremost, nice big window there, easy to see. We have the side mirrors, wing mirrors. They're okay, pretty sleek, pretty similar to kind of how the BMW M8 is. Now, unfortunately, on the right-hand side, it's not quite the same. We have the roll cage partially blocking the view. So you will need to adjust your right mirror to be a little bit more outward facing so that you can see the cars behind you. And I don't know if you guys can quite see, it might not be showing on the image displayed in front of you, but the headrest slightly comes into view as well and just gets a little bit in the way. So you try and move your head back to remove the roll cage, look by the roll cage, and then the headrest gets in the way. So visibility on the right hand side mirror isn't too great, so just make sure no one comes up your right hand side. But in front of us we have a nice wide windscreen. or front windscreen. It's a pretty wide car, and I'm not entirely sure what these two black bars running up the middle of the windscreen is. They're definitely not windscreen wipers, because we have a little one there that will never actually do anything, because as we know, iRacing doesn't have rain support just yet, or rain implemented. So yeah, these two black bars, they're not really that off-putting. It'd be nice for them not to be there in an ideal world, just have a nice open windscreen to look through. But yeah, it's a bit like the Halo. When you're actually driving, it doesn't really get in your line of vision and doesn't block you. Now, the one thing I will say, I have run a couple of laps in this car, and you will kind of see it when we get out on track, because this car has, as you can see here, the roll cage, the blind spots, where the windscreen is quite sloped at the front. I mean, it's quite an aerodynamic car, this is, and the blind spots are, I wouldn't say severe, but they're a lot worse than I was receiving in the LMP2 car yesterday, that's for sure. In the tight corners, you can't really see into the apex. Bit difficult, kind of have to guess it. Yeah, so hitting that apex every single time is a bit of a pain. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Once again, the level of detail around the car is just superb. The roll cage, all the wires, you can see the battery just down there. I'm not too familiar with car parts, so I'm not going to guess what those are. Going to guess some form of turbo, maybe. But yeah, level of detail, once again, really, really cool. I mean, just even like looking at this fixing in front here of where the safety netting / harness is just really crisp. I've definitely done a bit more optimization, I think, on the VR front as well. So yeah, that is the look inside the cockpit. Let's take it out on track, shall we? So here we are, out on track in the C8.R. So what do we think? I've run a few laps before I'm recording this for you guys now. And it's the same as LMP2, guys. I am really impressed. To me, personally, the GTE used to be a car or cars that I used to race quite a lot. I was a big fan of the Porsche RSR. I love the sound of it, and when they added the new tyre model, NTM 7, something just happens to the GTEs. Oh my god, that's wide. And they just didn't feel the same. They just really struggled on that tyre model. I know I wasn't alone in that in that thinking as well. And I just gradually stopped racing them. They were too slidey. I kept like locking up. And it wasn't my driving style, it was just the way the cars have changed and just the way it is, unfortunately. So I've been looking for kind of a reason to get back into GTEs, because I do like them. I do love the series, especially in IMSA. And this car looks like that is what is going to draw me back. This feels brilliant. It's not difficult to drive at all. Running it on just the baseline setup again. And it's comfortable to drive. I don't feel like I'm having to fight it. I'm not locking up the tyres. It's not sliding all over the place. It feels really good. And it's rewarding to drive as well. Very rewarding. I must say, the engine sound, it hasn't all that impressed me, it's alright. But what I do like is when you shift, well, not necessarily when you shift up in the higher gears, but when you shift up in the lower gears and when you shift down, I love that popping of the exhaust. When we get down into the lower gears, you'll hear it. Something just so satisfying about it. But yeah, the visibility is brilliant, as I said in the cockpit. So much air. Especially when you look at the left side of the car. I feel like there's not even a door there. But yeah, I feel like this is, I mean, the GTEs are always going to be a little bit more difficult to drive than say the GT3s because they haven't got ABS. They've got traction control, but no ABS. So you always have to be a bit careful with your braking. But as I said, that seemed to be, with the last model, or the last kind of season update, they seem to do something that just, in the GTEs, in my opinion. I can't wait to get this in a race. I'm really impressed actually how well the baseline setup is here. Not only have they designed a good car, well, they haven't exactly designed it, Corvette designed it, Chevrolet, didn't they? But the baseline setup on most cars have never really been that great. Whereas this feels like it could be quite competitive. They've definitely made these new cars more accessible, which is only a good thing, because it will make the new cars, they'll be much more supported, or well supported, and we should get some close racing. Love that downshift. But once again, yeah, I can really get my foot down a lot earlier than I can in the other GTEs. I mean, I must admit, I'm yet to try them out since this build has been added. Hopefully it's all GTEs feel kind of similar in regards to performance or feel. But I don't think I'm going to be wanting to drive any other car in that class anytime soon. But yeah, I'm lapping around, what is it, 157s, Optimums, or 156. So LMP2 cars are definitely around about at least 9 seconds quicker. Oh, wide scuff. Can't quite get Copse Corner right, I don't really know how to brake. It really does just grip. There's not really much else to say, to be honest, guys. I mean, if I get any understeer, that's because of the kind of me just taking too much speed into the corners. I'm not really getting any oversteer. car is very well, in baseline, it's very well balanced. I'd highly recommend anyone purchasing it. And I have to tip my cap, if I have one on. I'd have to tip my cap to the guys at iRacing because they have added 2 very good cars. The GT4s, which were the last kind of cars that they added on the roadside, when they haven't been really all that great. So something was needed to kind of get the road users back on side, and these 2 cars have definitely done that. They're sweeting me up for a while at least. Wide. Yeah, just can't get Cop's corner right. I think I'm going too quick. All the setup's just... It's the one corner the setup's not really tailored that well to. We'll talk about visibility in a second. What I said about the blind spots. There's only really one corner on this track where the blind spot really comes into it. And that's just before we get into the Brooklyn Straight. So this right-hander we're fine with. This left-hander here, we cannot see the apex at all when we're going around it. So you can kind of see it if you move your head, but I like to keep my head kind of as still as possible, as if I'm in the car. But yeah, what a car. Oh, still wide. Wow. Oh, on the limit through there. What a wonderful car, guys. I haven't really got much else to say. Just, I'm not much of a salesman, but yeah, go out and buy it. It's brilliant. So accessible. Even if you're not particularly quick, it's a real good, solid car in a GTE series. Reminds me a lot of the Ferrari in some sense, because the Ferrari I feel has always been the easiest to drive in a GTE cars. It was always the most stable under braking, that's for sure. I found never really liked the BMW The Porsche I absolutely love, mainly for the sound. I just love listening to that sound inside and outside of the car. I must admit, this engine noise, I know I said it's grown on me. It's not anything special while you're in the car, but when you actually watch the replays from a third-person perspective, the engine sounds pucker. It's really good. But yeah, those downshifts and those upshifts in the lower gears, particularly the popping of the exhaust or the engine, I don't know which one it is, really like that sound. It's so satisfying. There we go, that sound, but at a higher frequency, shall we say, in tempo. Ooh. But yeah, guys, if you like that, go out and buy it. And I will see you out on track in IMSA and ILMS. That is for sure. I think I'll stick to the yellow as well. I quite like the yellow livery. But yeah, guys, if you enjoyed that, remember to hit that like and subscribe button. Feel free to join my Discord, it's in the link in the description below. Remember to turn those notifications on. I hope you've enjoyed both of these first looks at the two new cars, the LMP2 and the Chevrolet C8R. From a VR perspective, the two most modern cars on iRacing at the moment, and it definitely shows on all fronts. So yeah, very, very impressed. Well done, iRacing. See you again for the next one.